Welcome to This is Thailand. I'm your host, and today we've got a story that's going to hit different for anyone who's ever thought they could save someone who didn't need saving. This is about Roy, a 67-year-old auto mechanic from Detroit, Michigan. Spent his whole life fixing things, engines, transmissions, brake systems, and when his business collapsed and his marriage fell apart, he came to Thailand thinking maybe he could fix himself. He met a girl, thought she was different, thought he was building something real. What happened next is a masterclass in self-deception, and the price he paid will make you wince. This one's going to stick with you. Here's Roy's story, in his own words. My name's Roy, and I spent 45 years of my life with grease under my fingernails and a wrench in my hand. For 23 of those years, I owned Roy's Auto Service on Detroit's east side. 2 bays, lift in each one, a waiting area with coffee that tasted like motor oil, and a customer base that knew me by name. I fixed their cars, knew their kids, remembered which ones liked the Lions and which ones were Tigers fans. That shop was everything to me. It was my identity, my purpose, my proof I'd built something that mattered. The death of that shop wasn't sudden, it was slow, like watching rust spread across a quarter panel. Started around 2015 when the big chains moved in offering $19 oil changes. How the hell was I supposed to compete with that? I was charging $45 just to break even on my overhead. Then the dealerships started offering free diagnostics, free multi-point inspections, trying to lock customers into their service departments. I had regulars who'd been coming to me for 15 years apologize as they told me they were switching to Jiffy Lube because they just couldn't afford my rates anymore. I worked 70-hour weeks trying to save that place, stopped taking Sundays off, cut my own pay, let my one employee go, and did everything myself. My wife, Linda, she tried to stick it out for a while, but I chose that shop over her every single time. Missed anniversaries, forgot birthdays, came home at 9 at night smelling like transmission fluid and too tired to talk. She left in 2019, and I barely noticed because I was too busy trying to keep the business alive. When I did notice, I told myself I'd fix things with her once the shop was stable again. That day never came. By 2022, I knew it was over. The bank was calling about the business loan. I was 2 months behind on rent for the building. Had maybe 3 customers a week when I used to have 15. I filed for bankruptcy that September. The whole process felt like watching someone dismantle my life, piece by piece. Court appearances, meetings with lawyers I couldn't really afford, filling out forms that asked me to list every asset I owned and admit I had nothing left. The worst part was selling off the equipment. Had to do it to pay what I could to creditors. Strangers showed up with trailers and cash offers, hauled away my lifts, my air compressor, my diagnostic computer. Some kid in his 20s bought my Snap-on toolbox, the big red one I'd been filling for 30 years, for $1,200. I'd spent probably 20 grand on that box and the tools inside it over the years. Watching him wheel it out to his truck, I felt something break in me that wasn't going to get fixed with a socket set and a repair manual. When everything was sold, I walked away with $42,000 and a small pension from my years working at a Ford dealership before I opened the shop. The pension was about $1,800 a month, enough to keep me in a cheap apartment and fed, but that was about it. At 67 years old, I felt like a junk transmission, technically still functional, but nobody wanted me anymore. Too old to start over in the trade, too broke to retire properly, too proud to ask for help. My brother Mike called from Ohio, said I should move in with him and his wife. They had a spare room. I could help around the house, maybe get a part-time job at Home Depot or something, stay busy. The offer was kind, but I couldn't stomach it. Couldn't handle being the charity case, the brother who'd failed, living in Mike's spare room like some old dog nobody knew what to do with. So I stayed in Detroit, moved into an efficiency apartment in a building that smelled like cabbage and cigarettes, and spent my days watching TV and drinking Miller Lite. I'd wake up around 9, which felt wrong because I'd been getting up at 6:30 for 45 years. Made coffee, sat on my couch, turned on the TV, and waited for the day to be over. Some days I'd drive past the old shop location, new tenant had turned it into a vape store, and feel like I was looking at my own grave. I wasn't suicidal or anything dramatic like that. I just felt empty. Like I'd spent my whole life building something, and now it was gone, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do with the rest of my time on Earth. All I'd ever known how to do was fix cars. That was my skill, my value, my contribution. Without it, I was just an old man with nothing to offer. Linda had moved to North Carolina with her sister. We were technically still married but hadn't spoken in over a year. No kids. We tried early on, but it never happened. And by the time we could have afforded fertility treatments, we'd stopped trying, which meant I didn't even have children or grandkids to give me a reason to get up in the morning. Just me, the TV, and a slowly dwindling bank account. That's where I was in January of 2023. 67 years old, divorced in everything but paperwork, living on pension and savings in a depressing apartment with nothing to do and nowhere to be. I'd wake up in the morning and have to remind myself why I shouldn't just stay in bed. Most days I couldn't come up with a good answer. I know this sounds pathetic. Trust me, I felt pathetic living it. But I'm telling you this because you need to understand where my head was when Thailand entered the picture. I wasn't looking for adventure or excitement. I wasn't some sex tourist or midlife crisis cliche. I was just empty, hollow, used up. And when you're that empty, you'll fill yourself up with anything that makes you feel like you matter again, even if it's all a lie. Jerry Kowalski had been a customer of mine since 2014, bought a used Silverado from me, brought it in for oil changes and brake jobs, always paid on time. Good guy, about 10 years younger than me, worked construction until his back gave out and he took disability. We weren't close friends or anything, but we'd shoot the shit when he came in, talk about the Lions, complain about Detroit winters. Around 2021, Jerry stopped coming around. I figured he'd found another shop, which happens sometimes. Then I saw his Facebook posts. He'd moved to Thailand, someplace called Pattaya. The photos were something else. Jerry on a beach, beer in hand, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Jerry at outdoor restaurants with plates of food that cost next to nothing. Jerry with Thai women young enough to be his daughters, all of them smiling at him like he was somebody special. In February of 2023, Jerry sent me a direct message. "Brother, I saw your shop closed. Sorry to hear it. Listen, if you need a change of scenery, come visit me in Pattaya. I got a spare room. Your money goes 10 times further here, and nobody gives a damn you're pushing 70. 3 weeks, see for yourself. Worst case, you get a vacation." I read that message sitting in my apartment at 2 in the afternoon, half drunk on Miller Lite, watching some game show I didn't care about. 3 weeks in Thailand. Why the hell not? I had 42 grand sitting in the bank doing nothing. My pension covered my rent whether I was in Detroit or halfway around the world. And the thought of sitting in that apartment for another Michigan winter made me want to put my head through the wall. I bought a ticket that same day. Delta, Detroit to Bangkok, with a layover in Seoul. Cost me about $1,400. Told myself it was just a vacation. Maybe I'd learn to relax for once in my life. Maybe I'd come back with some perspective, figure out what the hell I was supposed to do with the rest of my time on Earth. Landing at Suvarnabhumi Airport in Bangkok felt like stepping onto another planet. The heat hit me the second I walked out of the terminal. It was February, middle of winter, back home, and here it felt like I'd opened an oven door. Must have been 90 degrees, humid as hell, and it was 10 at night. The smells were overwhelming. Incense, fried food, exhaust, something sweet I couldn't identify. Signs everywhere in that looping Thai script that looked like nothing I'd ever seen. I felt completely out of my depth, which is a weird feeling when you've spent your whole life knowing exactly what you're doing. Jerry picked me up in a beat-up Toyota he'd bought for 30,000 baht, about $900, drove 2 hours south to Pattaya, talking the whole way about how much better life was here. No snow, no bullshit, everything cheap, women everywhere who actually smiled at you. I mostly looked out the window at the chaos, motorcycles weaving through traffic, trucks loaded with more stuff than should be physically possible, neon signs in Thai and broken English advertising everything from massage to motorbike repair. Jerry had rented me an apartment near Yamteen Beach for 12,000 baht a month, about $350. Studio, 1 room, small bathroom, balcony overlooking the street. Back in Detroit, $350 wouldn't get you a closet. Here I had a furnished place a 10-minute walk from the ocean. Jerry showed me where the 7-Eleven was, where to get cheap food, how to cross the street without getting killed by a motorbike. Then he left me to settle in, said we'd go out tomorrow night. The first 2 days I just walked around in a daze. Jomtien was quieter than Central Pattaya, more residential, but it was still sensory overload for a guy from Detroit. Beach Road was chaos, cars, motorcycles, songthaos, these red truck taxis that you flagged down and piled into the back of. 7-Elevens on every corner selling beer colder than anything back home, and cheaper too. A big bottle of Leo or Chang ran about 45 baht, $1.30. I could drink all day for what a 6-pack cost in Michigan. Thai women were everywhere, walking down the street, working in shops, riding motorcycles in pairs, and they smiled. Not the dead-eyed customer service smile I was used to, but genuine smiles, saying hello, asking where I was from. After years of Linda's resentment and customers looking at me with pity because my business was dying, being smiled at felt like oxygen. I knew it was just Thai friendliness. Probably didn't mean anything, but damn it, felt good. Third night, Jerry said it was time to see real Pattaya. We took a motorbike taxi to Walking Street. I'd heard about it, seen it in his photos, but nothing prepared me for the reality. Neon lights everywhere, music pounding from every bar, girls in bikinis and high heels standing outside trying to pull guys in, drunk foreigners stumbling between bars, the smell of grilled meat and sweet drinks and too much cologne. It was like Vegas, but more raw, more in your face. I felt immediately uncomfortable. I'm not a prude, but I was a 67-year-old mechanic from Detroit, not some player. Jerry laughed at my face, said I'd loosen up. He dragged me into a place called Candy Bar. Music so loud I could feel it in my chest. Girls dancing on poles in the middle of the room, wearing basically nothing, colored lights spinning, guys at the bar with Thai women on their laps. I ordered a Leo beer and planned to drink it fast and get the hell out. Then this girl sat down beside me. Not aggressive like the others. Didn't grab my arm or ask for a drink right away. Just sat down and smiled. Her name was Nok. 28, maybe 5'2", with long black hair and a smile that could have sold toothpaste. She spoke decent English, better than I expected. Where you from? How long you in Pattaya? First time Thailand? I answered, feeling awkward, waiting for the sales pitch. But it didn't come. Instead, she asked what I did for work. When I said I used to own an auto repair shop, her whole face changed. Really? You own business? How long? What kind of cars? I found myself talking about the shop. Told her about starting it, building it up, the regulars I had, what it felt like to diagnose a problem nobody else could figure out. She listened, asked questions, seemed genuinely interested. When I mentioned it closed down, she put her hand on my arm and said she was sorry, said she knew how hard it was to lose something you built. That got me, that recognition. Not pity, just understanding. Someone seeing me as more than a wallet or a washed-up old guy nobody wanted. It made me stay for another beer. We talked for maybe an hour. She told me she'd been working bars for 2 years, came from Buriram province in Isan, had a 6-year-old daughter being raised by her mother because she couldn't afford to keep the kid with her in Pattaya. Said she hated the work, the drunk guys, the way men looked at her. Said she dreamed about opening a small restaurant someday, getting out, giving her daughter a better life. I'd heard enough from Jerry to know these girls told every guy the same story, that they all had sick mothers and kids back in the village, and dreams of opening businesses. But sitting there with Nok, listening to her talk about her daughter with this longing in her voice, showing me photos on her phone of a little girl with pigtails, I thought maybe she was different. Maybe she really was trapped by circumstances and just needed a break. Jerry came over eventually, said we should go to another bar. I paid my bill, gave Nok 500 baht as a tip, told her it was nice talking to her. She smiled, wrote her line ID on a napkin, said if I wanted to get dinner sometime away from the bar noise, message her. Walking back through the chaos of Walking Street, Jerry asked if I'd had fun. I said it was interesting. He laughed, said Nok was cute, said half the guys in Pattaya probably had her line ID. I didn't say anything, just kept walking. But I was already thinking about messaging her. That night, lying in my apartment with the sound of motorcycles and karaoke drifting up from the street, I felt something I hadn't felt in over a year. Possibility. Like maybe there was a reason to get up tomorrow, besides just killing time until I died. I know how that sounds. Pathetic old man gets some attention from a pretty girl and thinks his life has meaning again. But you've got to understand, I'd spent a year feeling like I had nothing left to offer anybody, and here was someone who seemed to see value in me, in my experience, in what I'd built. I messaged Knock the next morning, asked if she wanted to get lunch. She said yes. That's how it started. I started going to Candy Bar every night. My 3-week vacation turned into finding reasons to stay longer. Knock was always there, always smiled when she saw me walk in, always sat with me instead of working the room like the other girls. I'd pay her bar fine, 1,500 baht, about 45 bucks, and we'd leave early, get dinner at some Thai place where the food was cheap and good, and she'd order for both of us because I couldn't read the menu. The bar fine thing, Jerry explained it to me. The girls work for the bar, and if you want to take one out before closing, you pay the bar to release her for the night. Short time meant a few hours, long time meant overnight. I wasn't doing any of that. I just wanted to talk to her away from the noise and the drunk guys and the mama-san constantly watching to make sure the girls were pushing drinks. Nok told me her story over those first dinners. She was from Buriram, way up in Assam, the poorest region of Thailand, rice farming country. Her family had nothing. She'd come to Pattaya at 26, sent by her mother because there was no money and no work back home, started dancing at Candy Bar because it paid better than working at 7-Eleven or a restaurant. Hated every minute of it, but sent most of what she made back to Buriram for her daughter and her mother. Her daughter's name was Ploy, 6 years old. Knox showed me photos. Cute kid with a big smile, missing a front tooth. Knox's eyes got soft when she talked about her. Said Ploy was smart, loved school, but Knox couldn't be with her because there was no way to make money in Buriram. So her mother raised Ploy while Knox sent money home every month and visited maybe 3 times a year. I asked about Ploy's father. Knox's face went hard. Said he was a Thai guy, left when she got pregnant, never sent money, never saw his daughter. Said Thai men were no good, only wanted fun, didn't take care of family. She dreamed about getting out of bar work, opening a small restaurant, maybe in Yom Tien or even back in Buriram. Serve real Thai food, the kind her grandmother taught her to make. Somtam, larb, sticky rice, grilled chicken. She talked about it with this hope in her voice that broke my heart. I knew what Jerry would say, that every bar girl in Pattaya had the same story. Poor village, sick mother, cute kid, dream business. That it was the script, refined over decades to hook lonely Farangs. But Jerry wasn't there listening to Nok talk about her daughter's laugh or watching her face when she described the restaurant she'd never have. She wasn't asking me for anything. She was just talking, being real. By week 2, Nok stopped going to work entirely, just stayed at my apartment. I gave her 800 baht a day to cover what she'd make at the bar. Lost wages, I told myself. She cooked for me. Simple stuff, nothing fancy. Fried rice with egg and pork, pad krapao, sometimes just rice and grilled chicken from the street vendor downstairs. We'd eat on my little balcony, watch the chaos of Jom Tien Road below, and she'd teach me Thai words I'd forget 5 minutes later. It felt domestic in a way my marriage to Linda never had. Linda and I had been 2 people living separate lives in the same house, especially toward the end. Knox seemed content to just be there. She'd watch Thai dramas on my laptop while I read or drank beer. We'd walk down to the beach in the late afternoon when the heat broke. She'd point out things, explain stuff about Thai culture I didn't understand. I didn't sleep with her. I know that sounds strange given the setup, but I didn't. We shared the bed, but that was it. I was 67, she was 28, and I wasn't fooling myself that she wanted me physically. That wasn't what this was. At least that's what I told myself. My 3-week visa exemption was running out. I'd have to leave or extend. Not cried when I mentioned it. Said she'd never met a man who treated her with respect, who listened to her, who saw her as more than a body to use. Said most guys just wanted short time, paid the bar fine for sex and left. But I was different. I was kind. I went to Yamteen immigration the next day and extended for another 30 days. Cost me 1,900 baht. Figured what the hell, I had nothing to go back to in Detroit. That's when the money started going out more seriously. First was clearing her bar contract. Knox said she owed Candy Bar 50,000 baht, about $1,500, for her contract fee from when she started. She couldn't quit until it was paid off. I didn't even hesitate. Wired the money to the bar the same day. Watching her cry when I showed her the receipt, telling me I'd changed her life, made me feel like I'd actually done something that mattered for the first time in 2 years. Then her mother called. Diabetes complications, needed medicine the government hospital couldn't provide. 40,000 baht, 1,200 bucks. Knox showed me the hospital paperwork, all in Thai but with numbers I could read. I sent it via Western Union. Her mother got on a video call, crying, thanking me in Thai. Knox translated. Kept calling me a good man, said Buddha would bless me. That feeling of being useful, of being needed, of having money that could actually help someone instead of just sitting in a bank account waiting for me to die, it was intoxicating. Better than any drug. I'd spent a year feeling worthless, and here was proof I wasn't. I could fix things. Not car engines anymore, but I could fix Knox's situation. I could give her a way out. Looking back now, I should have seen what was happening. Should have noticed that every problem had a price tag. Should have asked to see medical records or talk to the bar owner myself. Should have wondered why a girl as pretty and young as Knox was giving all her attention to a broke 67-year-old mechanic with a beer gut and thinning hair. But I didn't want to see it, because seeing it meant going back to being useless Roy, the guy who lost his shop and his wife and had nothing to offer the world. Knox made me feel like I mattered. Like my experience running a business meant something. Like I was still capable of building something valuable. By the time my 2 months were up, I'd spent about $4,500 on Knox. Bar fine, contract fee, her mother's medicine, daily money, dinners, clothes, a new phone, because hers was broken. It seemed reasonable. Investments in someone who was building a future, in someone I was building a future with. When I had to fly back to Detroit to sort out my apartment and figure out long-term visa options, Knox cried like her heart was breaking. We sat in my apartment the night before I left, and she told me she loved me. Said she'd never loved anyone before, not even Ploy's father. Said I was the first man who'd ever treated her like a person. I didn't say it back, but I kissed her forehead and told her I'd be back soon, that I'd figure out how to stay in Thailand permanently, that we'd build something together. At the airport, she held on to me and wouldn't let go. Made me promise I wouldn't forget her, wouldn't find someone else in America. I laughed, told her who the hell would want a 67-year-old mechanic with nothing. She said I had everything. I had a good heart. On the plane back to Detroit, I transferred $5,000 to her account, told her it was for expenses while I was gone, for Ploy's school, for food, for anything she needed. She sent me a voice message crying, saying she'd never had anyone take care of her like this. Mike picked me up from Detroit Metro, took one look at me and said I seemed different, asked about Thailand. I told him it was good, that I was thinking about moving there permanently. He asked if there was a woman involved. I said, yeah, there was. He asked if I was out of my mind. I got defensive. Told him he didn't understand, that Knox was different, that we were building something real. He said every guy who goes to Thailand says that. Said I should be careful, that I didn't have enough money to be giving it away to bar girls. I told him it wasn't like that and changed the subject. But his words stuck in my head. I started looking at expat forums, reading stories about guys who'd been scammed. They all sounded the same. Met a girl in a bar, she had a kid and sick family, needed money for this and that. Turned out she had a Thai boyfriend the whole time. But those guys were idiots, I told myself. They didn't see the warning signs. Knox was real. What we had was real. I lasted 3 weeks in Detroit, 3 weeks of gray skies and cold, in that empty apartment and nothing to do. I video called Knox every day. She'd show me what she was cooking, tell me she missed me. Sometimes Ploy would wave at the camera. It felt like home in a way Detroit hadn't in years. I bought a ticket back. One way this time. 60-day tourist visa, figure out something longer term once I was there. My brother asked if I was sure. I said, yeah, I was sure. This was the first time in 2 years I'd felt alive. I knew what I was doing, or I thought I did. I was investing in potential, in opportunity, in someone who just needed a break. That's what I told myself. That's what guys like me always tell ourselves. I got back to Pattaya in April with a 60-day tourist visa and a plan to figure out something more permanent. Tourist visas you can extend once for another 30 days, then you have to leave the country. Lots of guys did visa runs. Hop over to Cambodia or Laos for a day, come back with a new stamp. Some did back-to-back tourist visas for years before immigration cracked down. I figured I'd sort it out eventually. Maybe look into a retirement visa, though that required 800,000 baht in a Thai bank account, about 24 grand, which would wipe out more than half my savings. Nok moved into my apartment officially. Her stuff fit in one small suitcase. Clothes, makeup, a few photos of Ploy, that was it. Life settled into a rhythm that felt comfortable, almost normal. Morning coffee on the balcony, watching Yom Tien wake up. Motorbikes starting their daily chaos. Street vendors setting up their carts. The smell of grilled pork and sticky rice drifting up from below. Lunch at cheap Thai places where a full meal cost 60 baht, maybe $2. Afternoons at the beach or just sitting in the air conditioning reading while Nok watched her Thai dramas. Evenings she'd cook or we'd walk down to the night market. For the first time in years, I had a routine that didn't center on oil changes and brake jobs and customers who couldn't pay. I woke up each morning with a reason to get out of bed. Small reason, simple reason, but it was there. Then the family requests started coming. First was Ploy's school. Nok said her daughter needed to go to private school. The government schools in Buriram were overcrowded, teachers didn't care, kids learned nothing. Private school was 2,400 baht a month. They wanted the full year paid up front, 28,800 baht, about $850, but I rounded it up to an even $2,400 to cover uniforms and books and whatever else. I told myself, if I'd had kids, I'd have paid for their education. This was investing in Ploy's future, giving her chances Nok never had. It felt good, felt right. Nok video called Ploy to tell her, and watching that little girl's face light up when she heard she was going to the good school made the money feel like nothing. A month later, Nok's brother's motorcycle broke down. He worked construction in Buriram, needed the bike to get to job sites. Repair would cost 37,000 baht, about 1,100 bucks. I sent it. Told myself this is what family does. Help each other out. I'd loaned money to my own brother Mike more than once over the years. Then in June, Nok got a frantic call from her mother. Big storm had rolled through as sand, tore half the roof off grandmother's house. She was 84, living alone, couldn't afford repairs, needed 128,000 baht to fix it properly, $3,800. That one made me pause. I was sitting at about 15 grand invested total now, and I had about 37,000 left in my account back in Michigan. Spending another 4 grand meant I'd be down to 33, and my pension was only 1,800 a month. Had to be careful. But Nok showed me photos of the damage. Roof tiles scattered everywhere, rain pouring into the old woman's bedroom, her crying on a video call. What was I supposed to do? Let an 84-year-old woman's house fall apart? I sent the money. Each expense seemed reasonable individually. Private school, broken motorcycle, storm damage. These were real problems that needed real solutions. And I was providing those solutions. Being useful again. Fixing things that were broken, just like I'd done my whole life with engines and transmissions. I told myself I was still okay financially. The pension covered my 12,000 baht rent and basic living expenses. I had over 30 grand left. That was enough for emergencies, enough to live on for years in Thailand where everything was cheap. In June, Nok brought up the restaurant again. We were sitting on the balcony one evening, drinking Chang beer, watching the sun set over Hom Thien. She got quiet, thoughtful. Then she said she'd been looking at spaces. Small restaurant near Thepprasit Road, not far from where we were. Owner was retiring, selling everything. Tables, chairs, kitchen equipment, even the customer list. Key money was 270,000 baht, about 9 grand. Another 80,000 for initial supplies and getting set up, $2,400. Total investment, 350,000 baht, $11,500. She'd run it herself, serve real Aizawan food. We'd split profits 50-50. She showed me photos on her phone. Small place, maybe 10 tables, kitchen in back, needed some work but had good bones. Located near condos and guest houses, lots of foot traffic from tourists and expats. I sat there looking at those photos, and something in my chest loosened. A restaurant, a real business. Something to build, to fix up, to make successful. Something that wouldn't get crushed by corporate chains because there were no Applebee's in Thailand competing for the same customers. This was local, authentic, the kind of place that could actually work. My mechanic brain kicked into gear, started thinking about the layout, about workflow, about how to maximize the small kitchen space. Ask not questions about suppliers, about permits, about competition in the area. She had answers for everything. She'd been researching this for weeks, she said, had talked to other restaurant owners, knew a supplier in Buriram who could get her ingredients cheap, had ideas for a simple menu that wouldn't require fancy equipment. She wasn't asking for a handout. She was presenting a business plan. And I'd spent 45 years in business. I knew what it took. I knew what separated the dreamers from the doers. And Nak was doing the work. I wired $11,500 from my Michigan account the next day. Watching that money leave my account, taking me down to about 22 grand total savings, I felt something I hadn't felt since before the shop closed. Excitement, possibility, the sense that I was building something real, something that would last. This wasn't charity. This was investment, partnership. Nak and I building a future together. She showed me the lease agreement a week later, all in Thai. Showed me photos of the space empty, ready for renovation. Showed me sketches she'd made of the layout, where tables would go, what the menu board would look like. I started making my own sketches, how to arrange the kitchen for maximum efficiency, where to put the prep station, how to route the workflow so she wouldn't waste steps during busy service. We walked over there one afternoon. The space was small but had potential. Needed painting, needed better lighting, needed the kitchen equipment serviced. But the location was solid. Right off Second Road, visible from the main drag, parking for motorcycles out front. I could see it working. I told Nak I'd help with the renovation work. I wasn't a carpenter, but I knew my way around tools, could paint, could install shelving, could figure out most things. She kissed me, told me I was making her dream come true, told me this was going to change everything. For the first time since the shop closed, I felt alive. Actually alive. Not just going through the motions, not just killing time. I had a project, something to fix, to build, to make work. Didn't matter that it was a restaurant instead of an auto shop. The principle was the same. Take something broken or incomplete, apply knowledge and effort and money, make it successful. I was rebuilding, not just the restaurant, myself. Looking back now, I should have asked more questions. Should have insisted on seeing the actual lease with my name on it. Though as a foreigner, I couldn't legally own a business in Thailand anyway. Would need Nak's name on everything. Should have talked to a lawyer about partnership agreements, about protecting my investment. Should have wondered why the owner was selling a supposedly successful restaurant with an established customer base for such a low price. But I didn't want to insult Nak by treating her like a business risk instead of a partner. Didn't want to turn something hopeful and positive into a legal transaction full of suspicion and contracts. And honestly, I didn't want to see the warning signs, even if they were there, because this gave me purpose again. Made me feel like Roy the builder, Roy the problem solver, Roy who could diagnose what was broken and fix it. Not Roy the washed-up failure who lost everything and had nothing left to offer. I started sketching renovation plans in a notebook, pricing out materials at Thai hardware stores, learning the Thai words for things I'd need. Nak and I would talk for hours about the menu, about pricing, about how to attract customers. She'd cook dishes for me to taste test, perfecting her recipes. It felt like we were building something together. Felt real. That's what I told myself anyway. By July, I'd sent over $26,000 to Thailand. I had about 16 grand left in Michigan. My pension covered rent and food, and once the restaurant was running, we'd have income from that. The math worked. Everything was going to be fine. I was pot committed now, though I didn't realize it yet. Like when you're rebuilding an engine and you're 5 grand into parts and labor, and it still doesn't run right, but you can't walk away because you've already invested too much. You have to see it through, have to make it work. Because the alternative, admitting you wasted all that money and effort on something that was never going to work, is too painful to consider. So you keep going, keep investing, keep believing that the next part, the next fix, the next adjustment will be the one that makes everything come together. That's where I was in July of 2023. All in, believing, building, not realizing I was building a house of cards in a windstorm. August hit Pattaya like a wet blanket. Rainy season was in full swing. Sudden downpours that turned the streets into rivers, humidity so thick you could practically drink the air, everything damp and moldy. The heat didn't break, just got wetter. And that's when the problem started coming. The restaurant location changed. Knock came home one afternoon looking upset, said the landlord had backed out of the deal. Some family issue, he needed the space for his nephew's business. She was sorry, she'd tried to convince him, but Thai people stick with family. I got it. Family loyalty. Cultural thing. She found another space within a week. Better location, she said, closer to Beach Road where more tourists walked by. But this one needed more work. Old kitchen equipment, wiring that wasn't up to code, grease trap that needed replacing. Another 140,000 baht, $4,200 to get it ready. I sat on the balcony looking at my bank balance on my phone. 22,000 left in Michigan. Sending another 4 grand would leave me with 18. That was getting tight. Real tight. But what was I supposed to do? We'd already invested 11.5 grand. Walking away now meant losing all of it. And this new location really was better. I'd walked by it, seen the foot traffic, counted the people passing in an hour. The numbers made sense. Sometimes in business, you have to invest more to protect what you've already put in. I wired the money. Told myself this was it, the last big expense. After this, we'd be operational and profitable. Then in early September, Knock's ex showed up. She came home one evening shaking, said he'd been at the restaurant site drunk, yelling at her in Thai, saying the business should be his, that he'd helped her get the candy bar job back when they were together, that she owed him. Said he'd been threatening her for weeks, but she hadn't wanted to worry me. I asked why she hadn't mentioned it before. She said Thai men are dangerous when they lose face, that she'd hoped he'd just go away. But now he was saying he'd sabotage the restaurant, tell the landlord lies about her, maybe hurt her physically. She was scared. I could see it in her eyes. How much, I asked. How much to make him go away? She said he wanted 120,000 baht. $3,600, payment to leave her alone, to leave us alone, to let us build our life without his interference. I had about 14 grand left at that point. Sending another 3,600 would leave me with about 10,000 total savings. My pension was 1,800 a month. Rent was 350. That left 1,450 for everything else. 10 grand in the bank as my emergency fund. That's when I realized I was pot committed. That's a poker term. It means you put so much money into the pot that you have to see the hand through, even if you're probably beaten, because walking away guarantees losing everything you've already invested. I'd put $28,000 into this relationship, into Knock, into the restaurant, into building something. Walking away now meant admitting all of it was wasted. But staying in, putting in this last bit of money to deal with her crazy ex, meant we could finally move forward without complications. I sent the money to her ex through Knock, watched her line conversation as she told him it was done, saw his reply in Thai that she translated as basically, thanks and goodbye. 28 grand invested now, 10,000 left. I was living on fumes and a promise, but the warning signs had started piling up in ways I couldn't ignore anymore. Not big dramatic red flags, just little things that didn't quite add up. Knock's phone was always face down, always. When messages came in, she'd flip it over fast, read in Thai, respond in Thai. Never offered to translate unless I asked. When I asked, she'd say it was just her friends gossiping, nothing important. I told myself it was a cultural privacy thing, that Thai people value their phone privacy differently than Americans. The restaurant location changed again. Third location now. Knox said the second landlord had the same problem as the first. Family needed the space. She'd found another spot. Even better, she promised. Showed me photos. I couldn't tell one empty Thai shop house from another anymore. I told myself Thai bureaucracy and property deals were complicated, that Jerry had mentioned similar issues with his condo purchase. One afternoon in late September, Knock and I were walking near Beach Road when another bargirl recognized her. Young girl, maybe 25, working the daytime shift at one of the beer bars. She said something in Thai with this knowing smirk. Laughed, kept walking. Knock exploded. Started yelling in Thai after her, angry in a way I'd never seen. The girl yelled something back, laughed again, disappeared into a 7-Eleven. Knock grabbed my arm, pulled me away fast, practically dragging me down the street. What was that about? I asked. She said the girl was jealous, spreading lies, saying Knock was still working at Candy Bar when she wasn't. Said the girl was trying to ruin her reputation because Knock had gotten out and she was still stuck dancing. Made sense, I thought. Jealous coworker. Happens in every workplace. But the interaction stuck with me. The way the girl had looked at Knock, that smirk. Not angry or jealous. Amused. Like she knew something funny that I didn't. Jerry started avoiding my calls. We'd been grabbing beers once a week since I got back in April. But by September, he was always busy. Too tired, had plans. His girlfriend needed him for something. When we finally met up at a bar on Soy Buacao in early October, he seemed uncomfortable. How's Knock? He asked. Good, I said. We're opening the restaurant soon. He drank his beer, looked at me. How much have you given her, Roy? I got defensive immediately. What kind of question is that? He said, I just want to make sure you're being careful, brother. How much? About 28 grand, I said. For the restaurant, her family, getting her out of the bar. It's an investment in our future. Jerry was quiet for a minute. Then he said, every guy in Pattaya thinks his girl is different, Roy. Every single one. They all have the same story. Sick mother, kid in the village, dream business. It's the script. Knock's not like that, I said. You don't know her like I do. I've been here 3 years, Roy. I've seen this exact scenario maybe 50 times. Guys go home broken. I stood up, threw money on the table for my beer. You're wrong about her, I said. Thanks for the concern, but you don't know what you're talking about. I walked out, sat on my motorbike for a minute, shaking with anger. Jerry didn't understand. He had his little setup with his Thai girlfriend, who probably was scamming him, projecting his situation onto mine. But Knock was different. We had something real. I didn't call Jerry again after that. My brother Mike called from Ohio in mid-October, said he'd been tracking the wire transfers from our mother's account. She'd left us each half when she died in 2021, about 20 grand each. Mine had been sitting in our joint estate account. He'd noticed I'd transferred out $17,000 to Thailand over the past 8 months. What the hell are you doing, Roy? I'm investing in a business, I said, a restaurant, with my girlfriend. Your Bargirl girlfriend? Don't call her that. Roy, he said, you're 67 years old. You have a small pension. That money was supposed to be your safety net. You're sending it to some girl you met in a whorehouse in Thailand? I snapped. It's my money, Mike. Mom left it to me. I can do what I want with it. And Knock isn't some girl. She's scamming you, Roy. Can't you see it? Please, come home. We'll figure this out. I hung up on him, sat on the balcony furious, drinking Chang, telling myself Mike didn't understand either. Nobody understood. They just saw an old guy getting played and couldn't imagine that maybe, just maybe, this was real. That maybe Knock actually cared about me. That we were actually building something together. I felt guilty about hanging up on Mike. He was my brother. He was worried about me. He meant well. I should have called back, apologized, at least tried to explain better. But I didn't. Because part of me knew if I talked to him again, he'd poke more holes in my story, ask more questions I didn't want to answer. By October, I'd been in Thailand for 8 months, living full-time in Pattaya on back-to-back tourist visas, doing visa runs to Cambodia every few months. 1,700 baht each time for the visa service to handle it. I was financially and emotionally committed to knock in ways I couldn't walk back from, even if I wanted to. My savings were down to about 10 grand. My pension covered rent and food and not much else. The restaurant was supposedly opening next month. Knock kept saying next month. And once it did, we'd have income. We'd be okay. Everything would be worth it then. I couldn't imagine going back to Detroit. Back to that empty apartment, the cold, the loneliness, admitting to Mike that he'd been right, admitting I'd thrown away 30 years of savings on a fantasy. Thailand had become my last chance. Not just at building a business or having a relationship, but at mattering, at being someone instead of nothing. So I ignored the warning signs, ignored Jerry, ignored Mike, ignored the voice in my head that said something wasn't adding up. Because acknowledging any of it meant acknowledging all of it, and I wasn't ready to do that. I was like a mechanic staring at an engine that won't start, throwing parts at it because you've already invested so much you can't admit the block is cracked and the whole thing is scrap. You keep replacing parts, keep diagnosing, keep believing the next fix will be the one that works. Because admitting it's totaled means admitting you wasted all that time and money. That's where I was in October of 2023. All in, burned every bridge back home, ignored every warning, convinced myself I was building something, when really I was just feeding money into a machine designed to separate lonely old men from their cash. But I'd find that out soon enough. November came. 8 months since I'd first walked into Candy Bar. 8 months, $28,000, and I was still waiting for the restaurant to open. I was at the 7-Eleven near Soi Buakhao on a Thursday afternoon, buying Leo and some instant noodles. Pattaya was hot that day, humid, the kind of heat that made your shirt stick to your back the second you stepped outside. The 7-Eleven's air conditioning felt like heaven. I was standing at the counter paying when Jerry walked in. We locked eyes. He went pale. Knock was with me. She kissed my cheek, said she needed to meet her friend down the street. Would be back in 20 minutes. I watched her walk out, noticed Jerry watching her too with a sick look on his face. "Roy," he said, "we need to talk." "I'm good," I said. Grabbed my bag, headed for the door. He put his hand on my arm. "Please, brother, 5 minutes. It's important." Something in his voice stopped me. We walked to a quiet bar around the corner, one of those open-air places with plastic chairs and warm beer. Jerry ordered 2 Leos, didn't say anything until they arrived. "You still with Knock?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "We're opening the restaurant next month." "Why?" He looked like he was about to throw up. His girlfriend Porn was there too, sitting beside him. She was watching me with this sad expression that made my stomach tight. "Roy," Jerry said, "I need to show you something, and I need Porn to translate it for you. Please don't get mad at me. I'm doing this because I care about you." He pulled out his phone, typed something, turned it toward me. Knock's Facebook profile, public, easy to find. I'd never thought to look for it. The profile photo was Knock with some Thai guy, young, maybe 30, tattooed arms around her. They were smiling, tagged as in a relationship. "There's probably another Knock," I said. "Common name." Jerry scrolled down. Posted 2 weeks ago. Photos of a brand new Isuzu pickup truck. Shiny, dark blue, parked in front of some apartment building I didn't recognize. Comments in Thai below it. Porn leaned over, started reading the comments out loud in English. Her voice was quiet, gentle, like she was trying to soften the blow. "This comment says, 'Nice truck. Whose Farang paid for it?'" Knock replied with laughing emoji and said, "The old mechanic. Stupid but sweet." This one asks, "You still at Candy Bar?" Knock says, "Of course. Where else?" This one says, "When you dump him." Knock says, "When the ATM runs dry." I sat there. The beer in front of me was sweating in the heat, condensation running down the bottle. I watched it drip onto the plastic table. "Could be a different Knock," I said again. Voice sounded hollow even to me. Jerry scrolled to her photos. There was Ploy, the same little girl with the missing tooth. There was Knock in a Candy Bar uniform from last week. There was Knock with multiple different foreign men over the past few months, arms around them, smiling the same smile she gave me. Porn kept translating. "This post from 3 months ago, Knock calls you her ATM Farang. Says the restaurant money bought her and her boyfriend Somchai a truck, a motorcycle, furniture for their apartment in Buriram. Here's a photo of Somchai. Same guy from the profile photo. I looked at the truck photo again. 2 weeks ago, I'd sent the money for her ex-boyfriend in early September. 6 weeks ago. She'd posted the truck 2 weeks ago and called it a gift from the stupid old mechanic. I felt like someone had hit me with a wrench. Everything tilted. The bar, the street, the whole world. But the restaurant, I said. The locations. The lease. What locations? Jerry asked. Did you ever actually go inside any of them? See a signed lease? Meet a landlord? I thought back. No. Knock had shown me photos on her phone. Shown me one building from the outside. Said we couldn't go in yet because renovations. Shown me a lease agreement entirely in Thai that could have been anything. I'd believed her because I wanted to believe her. Her mother's diabetes medicine, I said. Porn shook her head. Government hospitals provide diabetes medication for free in Thailand. Very common disease here. No need to pay 40,000 baht for medicine. Her brother's motorcycle, grandmother's roof. Jerry pulled up more Facebook photos. Knock's brother on a motorcycle 6 months ago. Same motorcycle. No accident, no repair. Photo of grandmother's house from last month during Knock's visit home. Roof was fine. Perfect. I sat there staring at that Facebook profile. 8 months of my life. $28,000. Every conversation, every dinner, every night she cooked for me and watched Thai dramas on my couch. The way she cried when I paid her bar contract. Her mother's video call thanking me. Ploy's excited face when she heard about private school. All of it, every single piece. A script, a performance. Refined over years of running the same con on lonely foreign men who thought they were special. Porn translated one more comment. Someone asked Knock if she felt bad taking so much money from old men. Knock's reply, they come to Thailand to buy fantasy. I sell fantasy. Fair business. How long have you known? I asked Jerry. Since August, he said quietly. I tried to tell you. You walked out on me. Why didn't you try harder? Brother, he said, would you have listened? You were so convinced she was different. So sure we were all wrong and you were right. I couldn't force you to see it. He was right. I wouldn't have listened. Even now, sitting here looking at proof, part of me wanted to make excuses. Maybe she had to say those things to save face with her friends. Maybe the truck was a coincidence. Maybe. Stop it, I told myself. Just stop. 8 months, $28,000, and I'd been the punchline the whole time. I need to go, I said. Stood up, legs shaking. You want me to come with you? Jerry asked. When you talk to her? No, I said. I need to do this myself. I walked back to my apartment. Took about 20 minutes. My brain wouldn't work right. Kept trying to find explanations. Kept hitting the wall of that Facebook page. Her face was Somchai. That truck. Those comments calling me an ATM. I'd spent 45 years diagnosing problems, fixing things that were broken. I'd been so sure I could do the same thing with Knock. Save her. Build something with her. But she wasn't broken. She didn't need saving. She was running a business, and I was the product being sold to myself. All those warning signs I'd rationalized away. The phone always face down. The restaurant location changing 3 times. The other bar girl who smirked. Jerry avoiding me. Mike warning me. Every single piece had been there, and I'd ignored all of it because admitting I was being played meant admitting I was exactly what Knock had called me. Stupid but sweet. An ATM farang. A lonely old man buying a fantasy. I got back to the apartment, sat on the balcony, waited. Knock came home an hour later, chipper as always, talking about seeing her friend, asking what I wanted for dinner, completely normal. Let me see your Facebook, I said. She stopped. Why? Just show me. She stood there, phone in her hand. Her face didn't change. No panic, no fear, just calculation. You saw it, she said. Not a question. Yeah. She sat down across from me, put her phone on the table face up, opened Facebook herself, showed me the profile. There it all was. Her and Somchai, the truck, the comments, everything. And I'll never forget what she said next. Her exact words. You knew what I was. You wanted to believe different. Her voice was flat. Matter of fact. Like we were discussing the weather. Is any of it real? I asked. Your daughter? Your mother? Ploy is real. My daughter, with some shy. We've been together 3 years. My mother is fine, no diabetes. Brother has motorcycle already. Grandmother's house is fine. The restaurant? She laughed. Not mean, just tired. You really think I found 3 different restaurant locations, all with problems? Come on, Roy, you're smarter than that. $28,000, I said. She shrugged. You gave it. I didn't force you. You lied about everything. I told you what you wanted to hear. Same thing I tell every Farang. You came to Thailand to buy a fantasy. Pretty girl pays attention to you, needs you, makes you feel important. I sold you that fantasy. You bought it. Did you ever care about me at all? She looked at me for a long minute. You were nice, she said finally, nicer than most. But did I love you? No, I love Somchai. You were work. Where's the money? Truck, motorcycle, apartment furniture in Buriram, down payment on condo for my mother. Some saved. Rest just living expenses, taking care of my family. So Somchai's been there the whole time. She nodded. 2 years before you, still there now. He lives in Buriram with Ploy and my mother. I work in Pattaya, send money home, visit when I can. Like I told you, that part was true. You're still working at Candy Bar. Of course. Good money. I was never going to quit. Why would I? I sat there looking at her. 28 years old, beautiful, ruthlessly practical. She'd seen a broken man with money and executed a perfect strategy to extract it. No wasted effort, no unnecessary cruelty. Just business. I want you to leave, I said. She stood up, went to the bedroom, started packing. Took maybe 10 minutes. Everything she owned fit in that one small suitcase, same as when she'd moved in. She walked to the door, stopped. For what it's worth, she said, I wasn't lying about you being kind. You were. You treated me better than most customers. But Roy, you came to a brothel looking for love. What did you think was going to happen? She left. Didn't slam the door, didn't look back. Just walked out like she was leaving any other job. I sat on that balcony until dark, watching Jomtien Road below, the motorcycles and the street vendors and the tourists walking by. All of it the same as yesterday, the same as 8 months ago when I'd arrived thinking Thailand might save me. $28,000 gone, more than half my life savings, 8 months of my life building a fantasy. And the worst part? She was right. I'd known what she was from the beginning. Bargirl at Candy Bar on Walking Street. Jerry had told me. Mike had told me. Every expat forum had told me. The script was so obvious a child could have spotted it. But I'd wanted to believe I was different, that she was different, that I could fix her, build something with her, matter again. So I'd ignored every warning sign, rationalized every red flag, burned every bridge back home, and convinced myself I was investing in a future, when really I was just paying retail price for a carefully packaged illusion. I was exactly what she called me, stupid but sweet. An ATM that kept dispensing cash as long as you pushed the right buttons. The next morning I moved to a cheaper apartment. 6,000 baht a month in Yomtien, about $180. Studio even smaller than my last place. Hot water barely worked. But it's what I could afford now. I had $14,000 left, 10 grand from savings, 4 grand from selling my laptop and some other stuff I didn't need. My pension was $1,800 a month. Rent was $180, figure $200 for food and utilities. That left about $1,400 a month. $1,400 a month and 14 grand in the bank at 67 years old. That was what I'd bought with my retirement dream. I tried calling Mike. Got voicemail. Tried again the next day. Voicemail. Third time I left a message. Hey, it's me. I know I was an asshole. You were right. About everything. I'm sorry. Call me back when you can. He didn't call back. Can't blame him. I'd hung up on him. Told him to mind his own business. Burn that bridge the same way I'd burned the money. Some things you can't fix with an apology. Jerry started checking on me, though. Showed up at my new place a few days after Knock left. Brought a bag of street food, grilled chicken and sticky rice, couple of Leo beers, sat on my balcony without saying much. Just being there. He shook his head. No point, brother. You wouldn't have listened anyway. Nobody ever does. You try to tell guys? All the time, he said. They think I'm jealous or projecting or don't understand their special situation. Same thing you thought. Then 6 months later, they're sitting where you are now, broken, wondering how they got so stupid. How many guys you seen go through this? Jerry took a drink of his beer. In 3 years? 50, maybe more. Different girls. Same script. Some guys lose more than you did. Some guys lose less. But they all lose. That made me feel worse somehow, knowing I wasn't even original in my stupidity. I was just another Mark, another ATM, another lonely old farang who thought he was different. What do I do now, I asked. Jerry shrugged. Stay here if you want. Go back to the States if you can. Either way, you learn to live with what you got left. That's all any of us can do. I got a job a week later. Expat-owned motorcycle repair shop on Theppersit Road. Guy's name was Dave, Australian, been in Pattaya 15 years. Needed someone who knew their way around engines. Paid 300 baht per job, cash under the table. Oil changes, brake pads, chain adjustments. Simple stuff. I told him I used to own a shop in Detroit. He said, that's nice, mate. But here, you're just another wrench. 300 baht per job, take it or leave it. I took it. Most days I get 2, maybe 3 jobs. 900 baht, about $27. Helps stretch the pension. Keeps me busy. Gives me something to do besides sit in my hot studio apartment thinking about how I threw away everything for a fantasy. Dave knows my story. Didn't have to tell him. Jerry had already mentioned it. He doesn't say much about it, just hands me work and pays cash at the end of the day. Sometimes he'll say things like, remember, they're all working, mate. Every single one. Don't matter if she's in a bar or works at 7-Eleven or seems like a good girl. They're all working an angle. That's Thailand. Jerry brings me to cheap buffets sometimes. All you can eat Thai food for 120 baht. We sit there eating pad Thai and fried rice, not talking much. Just 2 old guys who ran out of options and ended up here. I see Knock sometimes. Walking Street, Beach Road, sometimes at 7-Eleven. She doesn't avoid me, doesn't seem embarrassed, just smiles and waves like we're old acquaintances. Once she introduced me to some guy she was with, German, maybe 60, had that same hopeful look I probably had 8 months ago. She called me her friend, said I used to help her out when times were tough. The German smiled at me like I was a good person. I wanted to warn him, wanted to pull him aside and say, run, brother, she's going to take everything you got. But I didn't, because he wouldn't have listened any more than I did. He'd think I was bitter, jealous, didn't understand their special connection, so I just smiled back and walked away. That's the thing about Thailand. The con keeps running because there's always fresh marks coming in. Guys like me, broken by divorce or business failure or just loneliness, thinking maybe they can start over here. Thinking maybe this time, this girl, this situation will be different. It's never different. The names change, the faces change, but the script stays the same. I'm still here because going back to Detroit means admitting I threw away 30 years of savings for nothing. Means facing Mike, admitting he was right, living on a pension in a cold city where I failed at everything. At least here it's warm, beer's cheap, and nobody from Detroit can see what I became. I think about the shop sometimes, Roy's Auto Service. 2 bays, that snap-on toolbox, customers who knew my name. 23 years I built that place. Thought it was my legacy, my proof I mattered. Then I thought I could build something else here. A restaurant, a relationship, a second chance. But you can't fix a person like you fix a transmission. I thought I was investing in potential, building something real. But Knock wasn't broken. I was. Lost my business, my marriage, my purpose, and thought I could rebuild it all here with a pretty girl and a restaurant dream. The mistake wasn't falling for a bar girl. It was thinking I could rebuild her into something different when I was the one who needed fixing. She saw a broken man with money and she knew exactly what to do. Exactly which buttons to push, exactly what to say, exactly when to cry and when to smile. She wasn't the villain in this story. I was just the fool who bought a fantasy and convinced myself it was real. I'm 67 years old now, got 14 grand left, pension that barely covers rent and food, and a part-time job changing oil on motorcycles for 300 baht a pop. Sleep in a 6,000 baht studio where the hot water doesn't work and the air conditioning sounds like it's dying. This is what's left when you strip the gears. This is what happens when you ignore every warning sign because you're too desperate to matter again. Some mornings I wake up and forget for a second. Think I need to open the shop. Think Linda's still there. Think my life didn't fall apart. Then reality hits and I remember. The shop's gone. Linda's gone. Knock was never really there. And I'm sitting in Thailand with nothing to show for 67 years except regrets and a toolbox I sold for 1,200 bucks. But the beer's cheap and the sun's warm, and some days that's enough to keep going. Some days it has to be. That's my story. That's my warning. Take it or leave it. Roy's story is a template that plays out every day in Thailand. An older Western man, broken by divorce, business failure, or crushing loneliness, meets a beautiful young Thai woman who seems to genuinely see him, value him, need him. She mirrors back his desperate desire to feel useful, to build something, to matter again. The Bargirl isn't a villain. She's working, surviving, supporting her family in an economy where what Roy spent on a single wire transfer equals 6 months of local wages. The real tragedy is that Roy convinced himself he was saving her when he was really trying to save himself. If you're watching this thinking your situation is different, your girl is special, you're the exception. You're not. You're just earlier in the script. The only question is how much you'll lose before you admit it. The warning signs are always there. The phone face down, the changing stories, the escalating requests, the friends and family back home trying to tell you what you don't want to hear. The choice is whether you listen or whether you learn the expensive way like Roy did. This is Thailand, a place where lonely men come looking for second chances and find expensive lessons instead, where every smile might be real or might be business and telling the difference costs more than most can afford to lose. Subscribe for more cautionary tales from paradise. Until next time, stay smart out there.